Hey, what's up, everybody? Sean here with another weekly update for my fitness journey. Just completed up week 14 here. And again, compared to the last couple of weeks prior to this, everything seems to be back to pretty much normal. So that's good. Continuing to make progress. So, just like I've done before, going to go through and talk about the different fitness regimes that I've done, talk about the food that I've eaten, and then just do a week to week comparison here. Okay, so starting off this week, day one started off with a cardio day, which is also a fasting day. In particular, this one was dealing with the stationary bike and the step machine. So compared to previous weeks, specifically week 13, went up a little bit in the number of miles for the bike, as well as the number of floors. The floors were primarily because I upped the resistance level or the whatever the level thing is on the stairs. So it makes it go a little bit faster. We got more floors involved this time. Good to make progress there. Total steps you can see there, miles. Again, the key thing that I've added in recently as of last week is that I'm now including my calories. I modified my what I considered my base calories from last week. I think last week it was about 2,200. This week I recalculated it to about 2,400 based off of what I expected to lose versus what I actually lost in number of calories. Again, all that's an estimate, but using 2,400 roughly as my baseline calories for maintenance, plus the amount of calories used from the bike, the stepper, and just walking, or in this case, running 3 miles at night, had a calorie deficit, calorie delta for the day of 3,455, roughly. Again, best estimate guess based off of what my app is telling me and based off body weight and all those things. As I mentioned before, it was a fasting day, so no food. So tea, coffee, water, lemon water, electrolytes, those type of things. Day two was getting back into the lifting. So in particular, it was strength training day. So good news here is things are definitely back on track. The breakdown of the chart there showing the first week, the second or first week being the first month, the week four, which is the second month, week eight, the third month, and then week 13 was acting as the next month there, just because week 12 is when everything kicked off with the 12-day war. So really didn't have any good metrics to record there. And then week 14, of course, is where we're at now. Good news is things are definitely progressing upwards. Last week 13, as part of the reset, I set the second set of exercises back down to five, and then the third set of exercises down to three, but was able to push up and added up a few more reps each time for everything except for the deadlift there. But all the other ones, I was able to bump it up for the middle set and then the end set. As you can see down there, did a lot of miles, and based off the food that I eat, what we'll see on the next one here, I'd had about a calorie surplus of about 280. So what kind of food did I eat? A lot of protein here. So between scrambled eggs, meatballs, fish, hard-boiled eggs, and a salad. I had a little bit of grains. Been cutting back on some of the grains in the previous meals. There are some tasty options, so I forego that this time around, but got some Spanish rice, some broccoli cheese rice, high level of fruits, getting in there with the everything from strawberries to dates to peaches. Of course, and there's always the standard raisins with the Greek yogurt. Vegetables, always have a salad at least once a day. But in addition to that, have some carrots on the side, some peas on the side, and then my V8s. Topped it all off with a red velvet cake at the end of the day, just to do a little bit of reward so I can, again, also push a little bit more extra calories. What I'm trying to do is have a surplus of calories on my weightlifting days, having a high level of protein with my diet so that theoretically I can still build muscle and have a net calorie deficit for the week and lose fat. Day three, that's Tuesday, which means it was Boxing Day. I am happy to announce here that after a while of being stagnant with my run time, I actually made a pretty big increase from week 13 to week 14 and dropped it by almost 30 seconds. So down to 12 minutes, 59 seconds here. My goal again is try to see if I can hit 11. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I'm going to keep pushing. And then everything else there was just push-ups, sit-ups, those standard 1 minute exercises, just to do a little extra cardio for that day. There you can see the steps and the mileage, and then that amounted to a calorie deficit about 3,300. Not much to talk about here because no food. Day 4 was another weightlifting day. This one heavy on the arms, but here I was definitely happy because again, the previous version of these was again setting that everything down to 5 and then having some pretty minor exercises with reps there. But some of these I was able to bump all the way up to 8. Some just bump up to one more rep with 6. Essentially, just getting a lot more reps. The tricep curls, one of them in particular, I was able to get it all the way up to 10. So that means next week when I do the triceps, I'm going to use that 25 each arm. Sometimes I do both of them combined and you do a 50 over the head. That's going to be the main set. And then I'll bump it up to 25 and 30. So the second set will be 30, or I guess the final set of set will be 30 at 5 reps. Overall, did have a lot of food as well. So calorie surplus here of about 180, again, based off the calculations. A lot of protein as well. Breakfast, I had not only fried eggs, but also had some tuna there. It was wing day, so wing Wednesday. So I had to get those at lunch. Big source of protein there. Probably a lot of sugar and fat stuff too, but it was worth it. Hard boiled eggs, some fish fillet for the dinner, some kind of Baja fish, quinoa, a little bit of grains in there for lunchtime, and then a whole bunch of fruits. Salads made up a lot of my vegetables, but in addition to that, had some additional spinach and then some Brussels sprouts along with my V8s. No other special stuff. The wings themselves are essentially a dessert, not necessarily the most healthy for you. So didn't really have any cakes or anything like that. And plus, I was already up about 200 calories for the day, so met my target. Day 5 was another cardio day using the row machine and jump rope. Big change here is that previously I was doing 4 minutes of jump rope, 1 minute rest for 5 rotations, bumped it up another minute, so 5 minutes. So for a total of 25 minutes of jump rope. Again, not really jumping the entire time, more like going 35, 40 seconds before tripping on the jump rope and then resetting for a couple seconds and doing it again. But again, jump roping, row machine taking a lot of calories up. So between that and the running at the evening, calorie deficit of almost 3,400. Again, not much to talk about here except for electrolytes and water. Day 6, so yesterday here. This is another arm slash full body day. Got the squats and the bench press in there, but also have a lot of the arm exercises. Here, shoulder press was another one that I was able to get all the way up to 10. So that'll be moving up to 30 pounds as a baseline and 35 for the failure set. Getting pretty close on the hammer curls and body. In general, making a lot of progress. It's fairly upward trend. There was at one point in the middle of week 8 where I shifted things up. By that time at week 8, I was adding volume by essentially just adding reps. So I was at the point where, let's say for shoulder, I was doing 25 pounds, 10 sets or 10 reps, and I'd be doing 4 sets of that as an extra set of where the extra volume was coming from. Or maybe instead of doing 10 reps, I do 20 reps, just using that same weight. Again, around that time is when I decided, okay, I'm going to increase the weight as that final failure set. And then with that, use it as a mechanism to determine when I hit 10, that's when I know to improve my weight. Minor calorie deficit here, only about 50. All things considered, still actually a surplus. So having any type of surplus on a strength training day is still in the right direction. Food, you can see there, had a lot of eggs, fish. I had some oriental rice, along with that, some beef stir fry, chicken stir fry. Probably should have had that in the protein as well. Salads, same thing as normal. Fruit, essentially the same thing as normal. Greek yogurt in the morning. I did have a peach cobbler. That's what that thing is supposed to be down here. It was a peach cobbler with some ice cream, but by the time I got there, back to my room, took a photo of it. All the ice cream melted, so it was essentially like a peach cobbler in a smoothie, but still tasty nonetheless. And then finally today, day 7, back to recycling to the first exercise of the week. So I was happy here that I was able to at least maintain the same level of miles, maintain the same level of floors. The stepper is probably going to stay that way for a while, until a couple weeks at least, until I decide to improve the effort again. The level, probably go 2 or 3 weeks at that before increasing the resistance, the level, so that I can get more floors. And then, as you can see there, the total number of steps and mileage and roughly the calorie deficit there. All right, so with that, again, no food there. What I like to do at the end of these videos is to pause for a moment to let you think, based off of what you saw there, the exercises, the calories, the food that's being eaten, give you a chance to take a guess of where you think I've made progress, or did you think I've gone the other direction? Am I eating too much? Those type of things. And we'll do the drum roll for the reveal. And surprisingly, we're at here. I actually gained, I don't know if you had that on your bingo card, but I gained 0.2 pounds, negligible amount, but still, why I have those big question marks there, that calorie delta, calculating all the calorie deficit that I had. And it's the calorie deficit goes from Saturday of last week to this morning, Saturday, just because I weigh myself in the morning. But essentially, I had a calorie deficit of about 9,600. If you consider a pound of fat, they typically say is about 3,500 calories. I should have been at a point where I lost roughly 2.7 pounds there. Instead, I went the completely different direction and gained 0.2 pounds, almost a quarter pound. Waist, I didn't really lose anything on my waist there. So it's just a bit of an enigma there. I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe there was a situation where the scale wasn't reporting the right information. Typically, what happens is the day after a eating day, my weight will go up. The day after a fasting day, my weight will go down, which makes sense because if I weigh myself in the morning, I don't eat anything all day, I'm going to weigh less than that point the next day. If I weigh myself in the morning and I eat all day, I'm probably going to weigh more than that the next morning. But day 1 here was a fasting day. So theoretically, the weight should have dropped, but instead it went up. From day to 2 to 3, that went up as well. So that was expected. The rest of them were expected. Going from day 3 to 4 went down because this was a fasting day. Eating day, so went up. So followed the regular pattern except for this one, and I'm not sure why, but that's what it's showing. As you can see down here, body fat percentage is still showing right around that 18% mark. And if you look at the last week compared to this week, not really any visible changes, but definitely visible changes compared to where we started 14 weeks ago. Especially front, back, side, all the profiles, you can definitely see a change there. So that's really all I had for that week. Encourage you guys to stick around with my playlist here. Give it a subscribe, give it a comment, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.